Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit activeday.com to apply.
Craftsman Days are here at Lowe's with big savings on the tools you need. Save $100 on the Craftsman V26 Tool Power Tool Combo Kit, now at $199. No matter what the project is, Craftsman's high-quality, high-performance products empower you to build on. Visit Lowe's and check out the full line of Craftsman tools today. Valid through 7/9 while supplies last. Selection varies by location. Maximum initial battery voltage measured without a workload is 20 volts. Nominal voltage is 18.
Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting radio-exclusive offer just for you. For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just text WATER to 64,000. That's WATER to 64,000 for your 2 free gifts with purchase. WATER to 64,000.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Pocket Hose. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at pockethose.com/terms.
Stop right there. Yeah, you. If you like all things entertainment, current events, or Hollywood, then look no further. Creator to Creators, hosted by director Meosha of Horror Noir, interviews filmmakers and creatives from around the world. Join in on the fun, guest celebrities, and informative information to have as a creator. Hit subscribe and stay connected to Creator to Creators.
Hey guys, welcome to Creators to Creators today. Today we have a special guest.
My name is Shanel. Nice to meet you all.
Welcome to the show, love.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited to chat with you today.
Me too. Me too. I love to start with every guest, from the beginning, and what was your childhood like? And basically, how did you find your way kind of moving into the creative direction as you got older?
Yeah, I mean, that's such a mixed bag, right? Because there's like different parts of childhood that inspired different parts of creativity, right? So I'd say it was very much like the adults in my life, bless all their wonderful hearts, just we're trying to just figure out how to like navigate their own lives. And so from a really early age, I kind of stepped into like a mediator role, and like one of like, you can confide in me. And like, I remember being 7, just like, oh, like, what's your problem? I see you're like really upset. And so that kind of started with just really being compassionate towards people and then supporting them, finding out like, coming up with a plan to help them start addressing some of their needs, right? Whatever a 7-year-old, I wish I could like reflect back on really what I was offering, but I remember like I had a fake checkbook and one of like my aunts was like, I'm having money problems. And I'm like, oh, here, like, here's one. I'm gonna write you a check. Like, you're good. It's just money.
I love that.
So, yeah. And then when it comes to like more of my creative expression as far as like buttons and stuff, my dad is more on the conservative side and just didn't feel like women had a lot of place speaking their opinions and their mindsets. And so that always really challenged me. And like there's a while where I didn't give as much as my opinion up to people or just my perspective. And when I found buttons as more of an avenue, it was like all the sarcasm was just unleashed and like every like thought process, whatever, like my politics or whatever, it gave me a place to express it where I didn't have to vocalize it. So it like took away the fear of speaking from that space and then just being able to present it and people like it or they don't, And so instead of me like shoving it, it's like, oh yeah, I make this and people interact with it. So, yeah.
That's awesome. No, I love that. That's great. I love that you were so like yourself at such a young age. That's really rare for a
Yeah.
lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, it's all everything I do now is what I've been doing, but it's just more express, you know? And then even full circle with the buttons, you know, my dad's Mr. Like nothing really matters unless it makes money. And so for all the years that there was like that guilt and that like you're too opinionated for a woman, after he saw buttons being successful, he's like, "Wow, that's pretty cool," you know? I'm like, "Yeah, well, thanks for encouraging me all these years. You've done it."
Right, right. It's like, wow. It's I mean, it's sad, but that's most people, right? You have to somehow
Yeah.
prove yourself in order to be taken seriously or to be labeled as something. Oh, like I mean, I totally get it. I remember like after I finished film school and I've always said I was a filmmaker growing up and doing those things, but not at that level of
Mm.
what people would call its credibility or whatever.
Yeah.
But then when you start to, make money and then you're getting calls to be on set and other places, and then it's like, "Oh, so yeah, you are a filmmaker." I'm like, "Well, yeah, I've been doing this, just not at this capacities level. It's
Yeah.
all the same thing."
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like your passion finds a way to express itself when you're open to it, you know, and when you are in tune, it expresses itself little by little until it does grow. But yeah, it's like the outside reflection doesn't always match up to our internal understanding of ourselves.
Right. It's I guess that's the process, right? It's
Mhm.
that journey that we're all on, and so I'm curious with you. So as you get older, did you find like, okay, what kind of made you say, all right, this is what I want to do now in my like path.
Mm.
This is the next thing, creating buttons and all that, but with the meditation and doing all that. And how did you fall into to that area in your life?
Yeah, I think it's like, I've always painted, I've always just created, I've always been a creator, and it's taken so many forms. I've never liked to be like, "I create this and that's it," it's like, well, I do weldings, then I wanna do macramé, and then I want to paint, and so I've always, like, played around with just so many modes of expression because it's like I love that's one thing I loved about Salvador Dali. I
Mm.
got a chance to go see his museum when I was, like, probably, like, 17 years old in St. Petersburg,
Right.
Florida, and it's just so powerful, like, to see so many modes, and it's like, we always know him for his paintings, but he really was just a creator and the way that he designed and his mindset, and so, I think that inspired me that your creation doesn't have to be such, like, in the box of things, and you can allow it to flow. So I think each thing kinda came in at different points, the art had always been there in some form, but then there was even a few years where I got really trapped in perfection mindset where I'm like, "Oh, well, I started making paintings that took me 100, 200 hours," right? And
Whoa.
then yeah, and then so I'm like, "Okay, it's beautiful, but that's intimidating because now I don't wanna pick up my brush unless I know I have, hundreds of hours to dedicate to this mindset." And I realized I was just doing an injustice, so I started getting into watercolor because that was the way to just get the painting out without being trapped in that, and that started as kind of a challenge to myself to allow the creativity back in, but then I found myself really being drawn towards the watercolors and the impermanence, and, like, I tell people all the time, I don't know how to watercolor. Like, I just
Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting radio exclusive offer just for you. For a limited time, you can get a free pocket pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just text WATER to 64,000. That's WATER to 64,000 for your 2 free gifts with purchase. WATER to 64,000.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Pocket Host. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at pockethost.com/terms.
Like the paint's in control, the water's in control. Like I have so little control over what I'm doing. So it's in itself such a balance of like you just have all these elements around you at all time and you're just doing your best to find flow and direction with it, but still accepting the result for like the beauty that it is. And I just found like that raw expression was more of a natural creative form to me than these paintings that were like, I'm going to make this. Here's what I do. And I lay out this really strict regimen for this painting.
Right. That's awesome. No, that's really cool. I love that there's no box that you put yourself in, which I think is honestly what creating is all about. It's not just being this one particular thing. That's essentially the journey of life, is that we're always we're supposed to be progressing and changing, right? And not being the same version of yourself when you were 15 or whatever, in your journey. So I find that incredibly important when you are in this, like, in the creative space, because I think for me, certain jobs opened up when I was more open to different avenues of the creating, not just, I went to film school, but then I got into directing, and then writing came, which I was super scared of at first. I was like, I don't want to write. Like, that's not what I signed up for. But then I got hired and just to be a part of a writer's group, and then just other avenues open up. And I was like, okay, just letting go of the fear of like, I'm not qualified or I'm not good enough, which I think it just comes from the world, the outside noise. How do you deal with that? The outside noise.
That like you'll never be good enough in those terms. You know what I mean? No one will ever give you permission. They might encourage you or like, oh, that's a good idea, but ultimately no one's going to give you the good idea. And I think it's just like, for me, it was recognizing that life only happens in motion, right? When the more stagnation, and that even comes to the title, the more I am this thing, this fixed title, the less life I'm encouraging into myself, and like the less potential that any of my creations have to take shape. And I've recognized, like, when I trust the process and like I feel more in tune with my purpose now. And so when I recognize that each thing is an expression of purpose, I feel more trusting. And so I get over like what it looks like, what people think, if it makes sense. And I'm just kind of like, this is it, take me as it you will. And just like just shameless about it. You know what I mean? I'm just like a kid, when you're a kid and you're like, when you were a kid and you're like, I'm a film writer, I do film. And everybody's like, oh yeah, that's so cute. It's like just keeping that same innocence to like, yeah, I do this thing and it's so great. And it's like, you don't even look for the validation externally.
Right. Yeah. And somehow, I guess it through as time goes on, and you work with different people, then you meet a lot of people and same like-minded people, and you're thinking, and they'll kind of put their thoughts and their kind of things on you, like, this is what you should think and this is how you should think in this industry, and because if you're not anyone if you're not doing this, and it's like it does kind of take a toll on you for a minute. But then for me, in my narrative, I kind of try to separate the two and not let it merge, like the reality and this make-believe world of, you know what I mean, of Hollywood and that kind of thing. It's because a lot of people kind of bleed the two, and it gets kind of to you a little bit. And I think that's why a lot of people don't end up leaving and kind of stop, because it's like, it's a lot of pressure. It's impossible to be a Kim Kardashian, it's like, come on. Like,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
not real.
And as time moves on, it seems like our expectation for each, like whatever that is, career, job title, whatever your expression is, there seems to be a different expectation placed on it. And, like calling an artist a content creator
Yeah.
versus,
Yeah.
and like I get asked all the time, like, oh, what do you do with your paintings? And I'm like, I paint them, and like that's the form of that art taking place. Like, not all my creations have to be something that I'm showing and making money off of. And that's the thing, people want to know how you're making money. How are you
Mm,
capitalizing your creation? And I'm just like, I don't want to take away from the power of expression in itself. Like, this comes out from a really raw place. And if it takes the form to be bringing in some type of money or whatever recognition one day, like, it can do that. It has that opportunity to. But I feel like where it's created from, it's for the sake of the creation, and once it's on the paper, that's like the most satisfying thing. So anything after that is just a benefit. It's a bonus on top of it. And I think I can look at most of my creation, like I've done it. I've created exactly what I wanted or whatever, as close to my I can, I've given it that opportunity. And it's the more I act without the expectation, I feel the more I'm rewarded, because it's like I've been
mm.
able to serve that forward. And I feel like it's more unbound in what people will interact with it. It can take so many more shapes because I didn't place that boundary on it to begin with.
I love that. No, that is wonderful to even yes. Yes. I love that. How do you like what's your in your life, what is your process like as far as like when you want to like to do you do like meditation exercises? Like what do you do to kind of quiet the noise of the outside world to keep your internal like aligned?
Yeah, I mean, I spend a lot of time just like in my head. Like, I have one of those heads that are just like constantly racking through words, ideas, images, whatever. It's very busy in my mind. So if my mouth is quiet, which is like on the rare side, then my mind is certainly not. But I spend a lot of time just really like I ask for guidance. I've humbled myself to really like ask, you know, if I need clarity, if I need if I need creation, whatever it is, I just ask for like the way, just observing them and just, recognizing like our humans humans are funny because we mimic animals. Like, we since day one, I just believe that humans do everything because nature. I get a lot of guidance from animals building houses or flying until we're like, whoa, they can, like, so can I. So I really feel like archetypes and stories and mythology, it's a really big part of how I break apart the where we're at, because I think we've come so far away from, whether it be religion or mythology or just like this ancient lore of humanity. I think that there's like these really core patterns, right? Like, that's where the archetype comes in. There's all of these things continue to express themselves, but we become so fixated on the detail. Who's saying it? What time of the life? And all of these things that it could take away from like that deeper meaning of like the why. So I
Mm.
really it's like a mixed answer, but it's like a moving meditation. I don't have like a formal let me sit down and tune everything out. A lot of times it's going for a walk and just being in this space where I allow myself to really dive down a thought process, right? Maybe something comes to my mind and I just really like go into this space until I find my own awareness and connection to it.
Gotcha. No, that's great. I love that. That's great. I think it's very important to I guess detach or get away from it sometimes. I think for me, I try to do like a social media cleanse because I mean
Mm,
that stuff can be, and then you got your agent, and your agent's like, you have to post this many days, and just like I don't really know how to post every day. Like that's hard for me. That's a little too much for me, but you have the people that are, you hire to that you want them to show you the social media stuff. So it's like I don't really know that stuff, but then it's like, man, how do I balance that? So I try to take a break from it, but also promoting at the same time. So it's like finding that balance. It's tough sometimes, but it's doable. um,
Yeah, and I feel like social media, I have such a, I feel like ultimately a lot of the daily posts, it becomes just like you're reaching out to people's ADHD, right?
right.
Like it's
Yeah.
the mindset of there's really no solidity already, so the audience isn't always receptive to really even grasp what you're doing. So as much as like I feel reluctant to do it, a lot of people are just like not even fully receiving it.
Mm,
I feel like because I study psychology a lot, I feel like it really
nice.
is a psychological thing that you're doing. It goes back to the archetype, right? Where you create a pattern. So you might be posting details to your pages, your stories, whatever, but what people receive is the pattern from it, and they don't necessarily remember. They might remember, oh, I saw you do this and like
Right.
whatever. But I think that ultimately it's like, oh, I see what you're doing. There's like a little bit more distanced view of it, and I think it's important for me if I'm going to use social media, which I do. Um, it's just that it's like, does this align with my core values, right? Like,
Right.
is this like how I want to put into my purpose, my drive, my passion? And if it aligns with that, then like even the funny, corny things can stay. But when it becomes this like attention grab of like, I need people to look at this, and I don't like to act from this place of scarcity and lack of. It's like, oh, you do it because it's just part of the expression. Like I want to put this picture out, and I look at like Instagram, for instance, as like an artistic portfolio,
Yeah,
you know?
for sure. Definitely. Definitely. Um, so question, I'm curious. So like how, as far as like, is meditation and guided meditation, I mean, you've done that
Yeah,
before
yeah.
with
So
people?
yoga nidra, yeah. Uh-huh.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, uh, what are some things that most, when people come to you, like your clients or someone that wants to be, what is something that they're looking for? What is it
Mm.
like you hear them say?
I'd say most people come towards me for like Ayurvedic consultations. And so in that sense, it's like just really not being heard. I like after working with Ayurveda, and are you familiar at all with Ayurveda?
I've heard of it. Can you please
Okay.
explain
Yeah.
for the listeners as well?
Yeah. So Ayurveda is like a holistic science from India, right? But it has its roots, it has a lot of influence from other regions as well as influencing other regions. But I mean, it's like the science of life. And so it's a really amazing guidance. I mean, everything from okay, it's this season, you should eat this way, you should do this, whatever, versus like, okay, you're at this age of your life, this is the changes going through your body. So, I mean, it's very holistic. And what it essentially does is it breaks everything down into qualities and elements.
Okay.
And it's like based off of an element and the quality of that element. Then, like fire is hot, or even fire is liquidy and oily. So you start looking at this and you can see this around you, right? Like summer's hot, it's very harsh, it's very depleting. So it's like drinking alcohol isn't recommended because it's also very harsh and depleting.
Mm,
So it's very much like look at what's around you and always balance it. And for me, I'm drawn to that personally because it's like life is balanced. There is no surety or security. Every moment is in flow. Every age is always transferring to the next one. So as soon as you have a grasp right now, something comes in and shifts and changes.
yeah.
So I love Ayurveda for just addressing that. Like there is no perfection, but it's a conscious, active involvement in the process of staying balanced, which I
Mm.
think is more natural than this whole you get here and then you're solved. You're like at the pinnacle of your success. I just don't believe that exists, until
No.
all of life.
Yeah. I absolutely agree with that. It's impossible to reach a place where you're like, I'm good. I don't need to, learn anything else or
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
it's impossible.
Yeah, so I think when people come to me for Ayurveda, it's they usually haven't heard much about it or someone maybe recommended it, right? There's a lot of this like almost like they're turning to it because they don't really know where else to go. Like just think about how much insecurity people have, how much suffering people are doing internally. I just recognize through Ayurveda, humans are so strong, we're so beautiful, and even the most grumpy person, when you really start asking them about their body and how it's functioning and what they're experiencing, I mean, you're gonna see like, wow, I could see how that hardens you after a certain point when you're dealing with this emotional, physical, spiritual pain for so long, and so people are just coming because, well, they're not being heard, and a lot of times these are things that they've never told their partners, their families, their mothers, so they're going through chronic pains for, I mean, 10 years, 20 years, and really just suffering through. So what I noticed first is just the initial relief of being able to share those stories with me. Like I'm a
Mm,
total stranger a lot of times, and already just by sharing it, you could see such a weight off of their shoulders.
yeah.
Just being heard and being like, and then when you start asking questions a certain way, because Ayurveda is all about the qualities. So as they start talking about some of their ailments or their imbalances, and you're like, you ask very specific questions. Oh, do you also experience this? There's something really validating for people where they're like, I do, or even you see them start to become more connected to themselves. They're like, I didn't recognize a pattern until now. And I see that yes, this does happen at this time frame.
Right.
So I noticed that what they come with is almost like the the quest to be heard, the quest to be supported, the quest to heal and change, but really not knowing what to expect. And then as they go through, you see each step of it is like first the relief, then the connection is made, then the connection with their own body, right? There's the connection with me, but then the connection back with themselves of like, oh, I'm going to start observing that thing about my body now to
Yeah.
see if I can balance. And then it just kind of flows through the protocols that we create is that like if they're really committed, then they adhere to like a lot of dietary changes, herbal changes, and lifestyle, whatever. It could be exercise, whatever it is. Everybody gets such a personalized um protocol, which is where the creation comes in, right? You get to look at someone like a piece of art,
Right.
and where do these balancing qualities come in to complement their masterpiece the best?
Mm, I love that. Oh, that's fantastic. Fantastic. Have you gone to India to
I haven't been to India. I've traveled a lot, but no, India's up there sometime, and it's like obviously the last few years have made quite a so there's plans at one point, but yeah, they've had to be delayed.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's the past few years have been kind of tough, but how did you get, through it, when you're in California, everyone was kind of shut down.
Mhm.
What did you find yourself doing, you know,
Mm.
in the
So I
shutdown?
totally dived into Ayurveda, it's
Nice.
just like, all right, what am I gonna do here? Like, what a better time to focus on health than right now?
That's
So
good.
I just really dived into that space. And then like that's when I really got into my watercolors as well. So even like my watercolor, it became a journal because I looked through it and there's pre-pandemic, there's pandemic, and then there's like obviously whatever you want to call this stage of pandemic, you know, um, and just to see that progression, like I can see the external influence, I can see the internal, and now I can see also where some of these just like higher principles that I've been focusing on, I could see almost like the purpose injecting itself into the work more and more.
That's awesome. No, that's fantastic. Speaking of purpose, what do you think your purpose is?
Mm.
Like,
Like in a very generic way, right? Because I'm like, there's levels of purpose. So in the most like wholesome, like what is my purpose? I would say it really is to like bringing about new perspective. It's to support people where they're at, right? It's like, it's really to uplift humanity, right? So that's like the core. I'm here to make this world, this environment, and the people around me to influence in a better direction. So that's just the very baseline. And then that takes forms in different ways. You know, when it comes through Ayurveda, it's obviously supporting through health, but I support a lot of people's businesses and like other things, like I counsel and a lot of other non-health factors. So it's like to help empower other people on their path and to encourage them to follow what their their passions and their ideas are. And like through art, it's like really channeling these messages and giving them form, you know? So then like the purpose takes this shape of like, okay, purpose has this ambiguous, unknown factor, right? Like this very like metaphysical, like energetic thing. And my duty is to give it physicality, to be able to see my purpose expressed around me in different forms, in different places. And so I like to think of it as like everything is purpose. Everything's just an expression of purpose in that form. And it's no longer just, oh, my career or my family or it's all of it.
I love that. Yeah, definitely. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I always like to ask every guest this question. There's no wrong answer. Um, but so I usually ask um, respect, or would you say, would you rather have what would you rather be have somebody respect you, or be loyal to you?
Mm, mm, mm. I'm such a like balanced person where I'm like, oh, both, you know what I mean? So if I could choose, I'm going to say both, right? Because then respect in excess becomes obsession,
Mm,
you know? And I don't want to be obsessed over without the loyalty. And then the loyalty is also in excess can be like a stalker. You know what I mean? Or someone who like holds you and is like, you can't leave. So I would say like neither in its full expression
mm,
of, because again, either one becomes bound,
mm,
right? The more it's like this very firm thought process and belief system, it really limits the expression of it. So what is respect when it's like, I respect you for this very firm reason, you're not allowed to grow outside of those boxes, right? And the same with like the loyalty, it's like, okay, loyal in these conditions.
mm.
So I think it becomes like the looseness of either of those energies in order for the flow to be there.
Yeah. Huh, that's first. I've never had that answer. So that's
What about
awesome.
you? Are you loyalty or respect?
um, I gotta say, uh, I'm a kind of a respect person. I'm more in respect because I think being in the industry that I'm in, as far as like the way I've been treated, in
Mm,
some cases I've seen it where it's like, you don't have to like me at all. Like,
mm,
it's just be respectful to everyone, whether I don't like, if I don't, even if I don't understand it quite, I can still respect it and say, you know what? Okay, but I've been in situations where it was like, you just kind of felt like, wow, I'm not even human, and it feels like
yeah.
I'm not even human, or, and that's just like, I think basic human, just like the
Mhm,
foundation of being a human is just being able to be respectful to everyone, or anyone that you
mhm.
meet. But that's my answer in short.
Yes, yes, I love it.
um do you are you where can people find you on social media, and is there anything that you're working on that you would like to share?
Sure. Yeah. So, social media, I just use personal. So it's outside rainbows, and there's like an underscore between rain and bows. Um, internet, my website is caliveda.com. That would be Ayurveda. And my biggest, most exciting upcoming project is an Ayurvedic retreat. And there's a series of retreats, but the first one is in September, and it's just really special offering. I'm really grateful to put it together because it's like it really changes the retreat narrative, of just being this like Instagram picturable thing that's like really glamorous. And it's like, this is really rooted in supporting people in their healing. And like one of the flaws I recognize in the model that Ayurveda is being brought to America is it's falling in line with our clinical, like allopathic medicine. So you go to the clinic, you get seen, and then you leave, and it's just very cold and callous still. And I think for the type of transformative help that Ayurveda can offer, it needs to be offered the way that like we're all in infancy somewhere in our lives, right? And that could be our emotions, it could be how we're caring for ourselves, whatever. And that it's like with an infant, you support them. First, you do it for them. Then eventually you allow, like you teach them to do it for themselves. Then they start doing it and they make the mistakes. So it's like when it comes to health, a lot of people, especially with like yoga, meditation, there's this like, you need to be a master right away.
Mm.
And I want to take that idea out of there. So to really support people through it. And it's like, I have to hold myself accountable that if I'm really here to share this information, I want to support it from the ground up, right? I'm going to teach you each aspect of the way so that after you leave this retreat, you're able to do this for your own. And it's not just because you read about it or heard about it, but it's because you really experienced it with the guidance and the support that you deserve, you know?
Love that.
Yeah, it's just a fun project to put together with like really, we're doing pre-consultations before the retreat. So we get an idea of what diet we're doing, what herbs. And so while they're there, we're essentially like following through what they would come to a clinic and do, but they're
Hmm.
doing it now with support. And I feel like that's the factor of like, for all of us in our journeys, we needed someone to guide us and walk us through, and we needed to be able to ask questions as we were unsure.
Yeah.
So just providing that space and like obviously people need to leave their homes, their lives, their workplaces in order to really dive into their connecting with their bodies.
Mm, I love that. Well,
Yeah,
congratulations on that.
thank
That's
you.
exciting.
Thank you. I'm
That's like
excited.
right around the corner, right?
Yeah, September 22nd. So
Woohoo.
yeah, it's gonna be wonderful.
Definitely. Well, sending you all the positive vibes and to you.
Thank you so
So
much. I appreciate that.
for sure. And thank you for coming on. It was such a really cool. I've learned a lot, and it was great like talking to you and learning about your journey and all that, all the cool things that you're doing.
Well, thank you, Meosha. I'm so grateful for your time today, and it was lovely to connect with you as well.